Coming up, we'll tell you why this is the best Jamal Murray has ever looked to start the season, why the Nuggets are ready to start the regular season, and what you don't know yet about these Denver Nuggets. All that and more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day, being an everydayer, hanging out with us Monday through Friday. We do appreciate you guys joining us, whether you're on youtube.com/Locked On Nuggets, joining us in the comments like so many great folks that are hanging out with us here late night on a Tuesday. Nino Slav's here with us, Hurricanes with us, Big Honey's hanging out with us, Snow Wolf, Jackson, lots of folks hanging out with us on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on the podcast. We do appreciate you guys joining us and being a part of our community. Today's show, we will talk about a number of things. It is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we'll tell you what you don't know about the Denver Nuggets. We'll tell you why Ryan still has some concerns about the bench, understandably. We'll tell you how good the starters are, and we'll tell you exactly why this is the best that Jamal Murray has ever looked to start the season. I'm Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm the co-host of Locked On NBA Daily in the afternoons. You can catch me at the Denver Dig, Hardwood Paroxysm, and Fansided. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn from Mile High Sports and the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Nuggets get the win over the Chicago Bulls in the third of their 4 preseason games. This was Ryan thought that the Clippers game was the dress rehearsal, and this was the dress rehearsal. They played the starters a little bit more than they have in some of the other games. They played closer to what we think the rotation will be, with a few exceptions to it. And Ryan, the big takeaway is really just like, yeah, the starters are going to have another big plus minus every night.
They look fantastic. Like, I know that there were some middling concerns, minor concerns through the first 3 games. This was the game where they really, actually, I mean, last game they started to turn it up. There were still some things I think you could point to that were at issue, but this one, everything clicked. They looked fantastic on the offensive end. They had stretches of defense that I thought were really impressive. And there are going to be some things that they still have to work through. Cam Johnson still is looking a little bit rusty in terms of trying to fit in exactly how the Nuggets are going to need him to. But overall, I just like the offense is going to score 135 points per 100 possessions when the starters are out there. It is an unbelievable unit.
Couple things. One, Christian Brown, some great passes tonight, validating Ryan's Blackburn's belief that he is in fact the point guard. Jamal Murray, so he had 2 or 3 lefty finishes. That lefty finish he's getting to right now is just sick. Like, he looks so good with that movement getting to that left.
The first shot that he hit with his left was after the buzzer. Like, after the play stopped, he caught the ball in the left corner and just shot a lefty 3 and drained it. Like, the dude is unbelievable. He looks amazing, man. This is the best we've ever seen Jamal look at this point, and it's really encouraging to see, not just the shot making or the playmaking or the defense or the intensity. It's all of it. Everything has really sort of coalesced into what we have seen as Murray's best start ever.
Yeah, although it hasn't actually started, so that's like the caveat here, right?
Yeah.
Is like, it hasn't started. But you cannot ask for more from Jamal Murray. Like, it's like, well, I want to see him in shape in training camp. Done. I want to see him take a leadership role on this team. Done. I want to see him communicating and playing with intent. Done. I want to see him getting to his spots, looking spry and hitting shots. Done. 30 points tonight on 9 of 18 shooting in 27 minutes. I mean, my favorite sequence was that pull-up 3. And the reason I loved that one was actually because it was at the end of the clock. But the real reason I loved it was Jonas set a screen that peeled the guy's face off. And getting Jamal that separation to let him get into that shot. Murray was incredible tonight. He's been incredible in preseason. It's preseason. But I always say, like, all you can ask for is as much as, like, you can't hold it against guys if they can't do something that they like. You can't hold it against a team for not being able to prove in the regular season that they can play in the playoffs.
Or for something that just hasn't happened yet, you know?
Right.
Like they're going through the steps and they've started really, really strongly.
Right. And Jamal has done everything that you would have wanted as a Nuggets fan this preseason. From the open runs in LA to training camp to preseason. He has been the guy that you wanted him to be. So phenomenal start for Jamal Murray. Cam Johnson, 2 of 7.
Yep.
Missed the bunny, airball the layup, missed the open corner 3. Had a bad turn. Had only one turnover. It was that turnover to Jokic where he tried the behind the back skip to Jokic on the pick and pop. He dribbled out of bounds. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. Interesting. And he was actually he was digging pretty well in this game. What I think is interesting, and he's a plus 21 in this game. What I think is interesting, Ryan, is after the game, David Adelman talked about like how everybody's playing, and he actually specifically mentioned Cam, and he was like the movement that he gives us and what that unlocks for us. And like I got to go back and watch it because it's the kind of thing that like Mahrez will see on like live, and it'll take me 7 times to catch it. But I think that's really interesting, and it kind of speaks to the idea. I was telling you this at the game. I think that Cam's probably going to struggle from the field his first 45 days with Denver in the regular season. I think it's going to take him a month and a half to settle in, to get comfortable, and then knock down shots. And in the meantime, there's going to be like, Cam Johnson better start knocking down shots. Ooh. Michael Porter Jr. had 35. Yeah, the Nets lost by 70, but Michael Jr. had 35. I can see those narratives coming, and it's just like I want to get ahead of it to be like, look, for Cam's individual performance, I think there will be a learning curve, but it is very evident that these guys are super comfortable playing with Cam Johnson, and that, you know, is helped by the continuity the other 4 have. But I just think it's really kind of an interesting dynamic where I don't think Cam has played individually well, or at least he hasn't performed well, hasn't produced well. And yet everybody seems to acknowledge that there's like, he is going to help this unit be the best in the NBA potentially.
I don't know if we talked about this or if I talked about this with Swipa. I liken it back to when the Nuggets traded for Aaron Gordon specifically. And back in 2021, where it was like, okay, not necessarily individual contributions, not necessarily these wow performances from a statistical standpoint, but holy cow, you just know it when you see it. You know it when it looks right. And with Cam Johnson, the offense just looks right. It's moving well. You have a whole bunch of guys, like Christian's additional ball handling definitely helps this as well, but it feels like they can initiate the offense in any way possible right now. Whatever they want to try, whether that's Jokic initiating at the top of the key, whether that's Aaron Gordon entering the ball into Jamal Murray and at the elbow, and then they roll with a whole bunch of different stuff. There's so many different ways that they're like Christian Brown was coming off of DHOs, and Cam Johnson. I really liked one of the DHOs that he had with Jokic on the right kind of elbow extended out to or the right slot, getting a 3 that Nikola Vucevic tried to contest, but he just couldn't because the angle was so good. And it's the movement that David Adams talking about that he creates, and it's so efficient and compact. And some of the problems that you had with Mike, it just took a long time sometimes because he was just a little bit slower and a little bit bigger. That's going to help on the glass for him. It's going to hurt Denver. But I think Denver's just going to get so much more versatile with Cam and what he can provide. It's really exciting.
Okay. So coming up, we will talk about some more about the starters. We'll talk a little bit about the bench and maybe some of the concerns there. We'll get into some of the deep dive stuff off of this preseason win. And coming up later, we'll let you know what we don't know about this Denver Nuggets team. That's ahead on Locked On Nuggets. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch's for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. I've had those happen to me actually several times because that's how my ADHD brain works. Don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code Locked On NBA. We're also brought to you today by Game Time. Basketball season's officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. So I had a buddy who was getting tickets for his girls to a concert with someone who just came out with a song about trees. And he is frugal. Like my buddy's like a frugal person. He is very penny wise. But he was so desperate, he was just like clicking randomly on this website to try and get the tickets. Well, he got frozen up. And so he was panicking. He reloads the page. They kick him back to the other screen. He's trying to do it. He clicks best available and just purchases tickets. Yeah, my buddy wound up spending about 6 times more than he intended to on those tickets to that young lady's tour. Now, the girls had a great time, but my buddy has lamented that to this day. Don't let that happen to you with Game Time. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and stress-free. Avs are off to a great start. There is nothing better to me in Denver than going to an Avs game or Nuggets game. I think those atmospheres are absolutely electric. Great crowd for the Nuggets preseason game tonight. It is going to be an absolutely incredible season at Ball Arena all season long. And you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Glad to have you guys with us. It is very late on a Tuesday, so I appreciate everybody hanging out with us in the chat. It's very late because some officials decided to call 57,000 fouls in a preseason game. Meteor Row was about to go down and just like rumble with the officials. Like,
it was brutal.
You know, there was the video today of the Celtics media taking on the Celtics coaches who full court pressed them the entire game, by the way. Brutal. That is cold-blooded.
Yeah.
But it would have been nothing compared to the kind of bloodshed that would have happened if they had called one more foul in that game with us poor media members.
Yeah, Vinny Benedetto was just absolutely losing his stuff. He was ready to go. So
So the starters look ready, even with Cam not necessarily producing yet. Christian looks terrific. AG continues his incredible late life resurgence. Being able to perform when he's so close to death's door.
Yes, he's still got it. He's still got his stuff.
Ryan and I have been having discussions about how at what point Aaron Gordon will become a bench player, and he thinks it's not the season, but soon.
Gosh, here's the thing, like, I think that eventually the Nuggets are going to have to game plan for that, and that's okay. It doesn't make him a worse player. It doesn't make anybody a worse player. They're going to have to do the same thing with Jokic. Like, it's going to happen. They're going to need to lower Jokic's usage. He can't be playing like 36 minutes a night going in for the 7th, 8th, 9th straight year in a row. Like, it's gotta, all of these guys are going to like the minutes just rack up, especially with all the playoff intensity and the playoff style of play that he's had. But I want to make mention to that David Adelman said something about this in that Aaron Gordon, the late career shooting renaissance that he has had, it's something that a lot of guys have, a la Jason Kidd, various other veterans that sort of get smarter and get more versatile as their career goes along. We saw this with Paul Millsap. You just can't body everybody out of the way for the entirety of your career if you want that career to last a long time. And to Aaron's credit, dude's got a pull-up jumper now like nobody's business. He has been unbelievable with that thing so far this preseason, and it really dates back all of last year.
Swipe actually goes back several years. He's been doing the research on this about when actually he's been shooting pretty well.
Yeah.
Hang on, I need to make a real note real quick. Do not give Ryan power of attorney. He will try and bury you before you're dead. Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna follow me.
So with the bench, slight negatives kind of all around.
Can I say just one thing specifically about that?
Yeah.
They did so many different things with the bench unit tonight.
Yeah,
there were so many different combinations, there was never really a cohesive group for the entire time, just kind of going back and looking at the chart. Like, there was never a single moment that a lineup played together for more than 3 minutes. That lineup, by the way, in the first half was Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson, Peyton Watson, Jonas Valanciunas to end the first quarter. And then towards the middle of the third quarter, there was another lineup. But for the most part, like, Adelman is picking and choosing a variety of different looks that he's trying to get to for those guys to at least see and have different things on film. I'm not worried about the bench struggling. It's more of just like, okay, they're still unsure about the direction and sort of the combinations that they're going with at this point right now.
So I think some of the way to think about it is, if you're going to have, I've said this for years, if you're going to have a top heavy team salary wise, your bench is not going to probably win its minutes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I think you got to think about is, what's the distribution of games where the bench is -8 or worse? What's the distribution of the bench -4 or worse? What's the distribution of the bench being +4 to -4? What's the distribution of the bench being 4+ and 8+? If you think of it from those terms, then you start to kind of understand like what you should actually be looking for here. Like, there will be nights when it's like, yeah, the bench was really bad tonight. They got killed. Like, Jonas got absolutely cooked and dropped coverage, and Bruce did not have a good game, and Peyton got lost and they couldn't score. Like, they will have those nights, because there will be nights where the starters don't look amazing. They'll just only be like 4 of them.
Yeah.
But the question is how many of these games is it a real problem? Right. And I especially think that for me, a big question is just going to be, I really want to see against the Warriors what the post Jamal first quarter sub looks like. That those minutes from the end of from the midway of the first until the end of the quarter with Yoke, what does that look like? Because last year I thought that was the vulnerable part. That had always been really good, because it was like, oh, you still got Yoke, so you're still like plus whatever. And instead, like last year, it was they were up, and then like Joker would leave, and it's like, yeah, they're still up, but they're not up by as much. And then the bench would come in, and it would be, not actually, it wasn't as bad as it could have been last year, but wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the question. I still, Tim Hardaway Jr. can't make a shot, but I still continue to I just like the way he's playing. I like the finish that he had, the M1 that he had. I think he's given good effort defensively. Sure. Bruce is doing enough like versatility things, and I think Peyton's just been terrific. So like the individual play has been really good. I don't have any complaints about the individual players. I am very curious about the rotation, but I don't. Is there anybody on the bench that you're just like, I have not liked the way that this guy has played?
Julian.
Yeah,
he kind of What?
You don't like him anyway.
Well, I mean, I valued what he did last year more than a lot of people did. I thought he was put into a really heinous situation with the rotation the way that it was, and he just like had to be the 8th man in his second season before he was really ready to do so. And he sunk and swim at various points, but like he still had some good moments. I just think that you like it when he gets to his floater. I don't. I actually think that is oftentimes an admission of him not necessarily being able to get to the rim against a lot of these guys. And it has led to some pretty bad attempts throughout the preseason. He also lost Javon Carter a lot tonight. And that to me is just like, all right, if you're trying to get into the rotation, if you're trying to stabilize things, if you're trying to show the team and show the coaching staff that you can do what they're asking you to do, like that's a thing that just can't happen. So I hope that he continues to grow and the Nuggets continue to find time for him. I am worried, however, that with the smallness of their guards, especially on the second unit, that they are more likely to default to, we can't play Julian tonight rather than playing him.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with you that I think he is further from the rotation than when camp started. Now, that can be wrong because a lot of times, like, you get this perception in training camp and you're like, I don't think he's going to play. And then they're like, no, he's absolutely going to play. Like, yeah. But I do not feel that way. The defensive lapses have been bad, no question. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like they haven't been bad. I will not do the thing that certain other people do when they're just like, no, I didn't think it was the problem at all about the players that they like. So, like, no, like, it's a real problem. I still think Julian's shot creation is really important. Like, those step back threes that he hits are just shots that I think, even though it's like, oh, do you really want to rely on those? It's like, no, but you want to have the ability to hit them. It's better than like some of the other alternatives they hit when they hit grenades late in the shot clock,
right?
For the bench unit. But I think that right now he's maybe out. What I am kind of curious about, though, and that's what we're going to talk about coming up, is okay, we know the starters are going to be good. We know the bench is going to be probably fine. What don't we know about the Nuggets? And what don't we know about the rotation? We'll get into that coming up on Locked On Nuggets. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use it on things like Broncos touchdown. Well, okay, maybe not that. You can use it on things like Broncos to cover. No, maybe not. You can use it on things like the Broncos to win, because they're probably going to win this game versus the Giants after beating the Jets in London in an absolute thriller. You can do that, as well as you can get in on all the great NFL future or NBA futures at FanDuel as well. Lots of good ones out there to take a look at. Long shots galore. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
That was heinous.
Back here online, that you're right. That was heinous. That game on Saturday or on Sunday was.
Oh, I'm talking about the ad read.
Heinous.
Despicable.
How did you? Yeah, that was despicable. That was unprofessional. How'd you guys win that game?
It's the Jets.
It's the Jets. Justin Fields. So I am really interested in this question. What do you feel like you don't know? Because we're done with preseason. Like, Friday will be a look at the other guys for the front office to get an idea of who do we like, who do we think, like, is there any, like, a last assessment of any of the Exhibit 10s to kind of get a feel for those guys who honestly they haven't gotten to play probably as much as they needed to. That we're not going to, like, you will not see any of the starters I expect on Friday. So, and probably not the veteran bench guys either. So what do you feel like we don't know going into the season?
I don't know where Spencer Jones quite fits in.
Huh.
I think that they have absolutely tried to make it happen with him. I think that he has really showed a lot defensively. Of all of the players in the rotation, I think that he is probably the most or second most impressive on-ball defender that they've had so far in the preseason. Now, it is preseason. He is very focused on that side of the floor and willingly doesn't have to do much on the offensive end. But it is an interesting kind of wrinkle to have there, a big body that you can throw out there that isn't just Peyton Watson. Like, imagine having Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson on the floor at the same time, where one of those guys can be on the ball and the other can protect the rim. Like, there's a lot I think that you could do if you have another versatile forward like that. I don't think that he's going to play that often, but he was the 10th man off the bench tonight. Like, he was playing over Strother. He was playing over Zeke. He was playing over Duran. Like, he's playing over Jalen Pickett. Like, he has really carved out a niche in this rotation. Or has he, I think, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, for him on a two-way, I think they're trying to get as much information as possible.
Yeah.
And then, like, the worst case scenario is they just send him there. I do think we've got to expect that Duran's going to start in Grand Rapids. I think that's
he just hasn't appeared in a game prior to 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. Or so.
And I understand, and maybe he might come in on Friday. Like, he might have a monster game on Friday.
Hope he does. That'd be
cool. Him versus Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, Arkansas Jalen Williams, could be a lot of fun. So that could happen. And I understand your feeling of you should have gotten a better assessment of where Duran's at. But I think we can either way, we can kind of assess that it's likely he starts the season with the gold.
I think they know. And the fact that this has gone the way that this has, I think that's the assessment enough that I need. It's unfortunate. I've had a variety of people ask me, where does Duran fit into this rotation? Because I had him initially as the 11th man or somewhere kind of in that vicinity, because I really thought that they were going to try to put him into that position, but they're not going to give him anything before he earns it and before he comes back from injury and shows that he's right and ready to go. So interesting kind of wrinkle to consider later in the season, but it's certainly not a game one consideration for Denver.
I think it's interesting that Julian didn't play as much tonight. I think I have this sneaking suspicion that Jalen Pickett might be closer to the rotation than we think, just by having another ball handler. But I did really like Adelman as part of a much longer answer that I have to transcribe and write about over at the Dig. Talked about how one of the reasons he wanted the different guys bringing the ball up is it helps them with initiating actions, getting downhill, and then learning the mechanisms for those drive and spray kickouts. Because I was asking about the 3-point stuff, because what happened tonight was the Nuggets started off and they annihilated the Bulls at the rim. They just completely destroyed them on pick and rolls. There was nothing Chicago could do with their starting lineup. And so Billy Donovan was like, well, let's give it too big look. So he played Jalen Smith next to Vucevic and then next to Asenge
with the 3 or something like that. Yeah.
And he went and he just packed the paint. And then you actually started in the second quarter, you started to see the Nuggets missing a lot of shots at the rim and getting blocked, which I thought was really interesting. And you could tell that the Nuggets were still kind of trying to force that issue. And this to me is maybe part of the dynamic we don't talk about enough with the threes, is instead of just talking about it from taking more threes, to instead being you don't always have to force the issue at the rim just because you had success earlier.
Yes.
That's a
great point.
That's probably a bigger thing than we kind of think about. It's because I always say this, I'm never looking for teams when it's they need to shoot more threes. I don't want them taking pull up threes in transition. Those are terrible shots unless you're Jamal. That's just not good shots, or Aaron Gordon now. Before his last breaths escape his body and he ascends.
Last gasp.
So I am of the belief that you want to create good 3-point looks. Yeah. And a lot of that, I think, is just being able to read and react to what the game, and Adam has talked about this too, about reacting to how teams guard the Nuggets. And I think it's going to be a really pivotal kind of part of the process moving forward. But I am kind of curious about Jalen. I don't want, I'll just say this, what I don't want is for it to be Tim Hardaway Jr., Peyton Watson, Bruce Brown, Jonas Valanciunas. That's your 9 man. And that's it. they need another guy. They need at least one more. I would rather, like, I honestly would kind of like to see them run 11. Like, I just would.
Be great.
But we thought that coming into the preseason, it was going to be Deron Holmes, maybe versus Zeke Najee for that third big spot.
Yeah.
And now I think it's Spencer Jones versus Zeke for that third big spot. And the only reason I think Zeke is there is seniority.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's certainly seniority. I think that's what he's got right now on Spencer Jones at this point. I think that you're right about expanding the rotation. One of the problems that we've always seemed to find with Malone specifically was that the Nuggets would get into this rhythm and he'd like the group that he had. And then, like, on top of not having a whole bunch of weapons at the disposal, he just liked simple. It was 4 starters play for about 8 to 9 minutes. And then Jamal Murray comes back in and leads the bench unit with the other 4 bench guys. And then the starters start peeling back in. And it's pretty easy to draw up a 9-man rotation like that. If you want to stagger, and that's clearly something that Adelman wants to do, you have to get creative and guys have to buy in. And that's actually one of the questions. I didn't get to ask Adelman this, but it's one of the questions that I have. Guys are going to have to buy into playing less time if you have an 11-man rotation. Like, Bruce Brown's going to have to be okay playing 5 minutes and a half if that's the case. Julian Strawther, if he wants to get in, he might only get 4 minutes. He might get 3 minutes. He might get a very short amount of time. And so you run into these issues where Malone would like to give guys longer runway to develop chemistry and build like habits with the lineup, things like that. But it was a path of least resistance with those guys. Adelman's going to have to get that buy-in from everybody if he wants to play a lot of people.
How many guys do you think should be in the rotation?
I like the idea of 11. I think it gets a little complicated, but I do think that 10 is pretty reasonable. Even if they don't have like okay, there might be some times where Jalen Pickett doesn't play. He's probably, like, I've compared him to Jordan McLaughlin in the past. I think that is a pretty good approximation. Third point guard on a lot of nights where, hey, there's not a lot of room in the rotation for the 11th guy, but if he plays, then you feel good about it because you know what you're going to get and you like what you get. I think that 10 on most nights makes sense. Maybe you bump it down to 9 against some of the best teams in the NBA, or maybe that's the opportunity to play all 11 guys and just see who can play in those situations, as opposed to trying to really like hold on to it real tight, like Malone has done in the past. Like, Adelman seems pretty comfortable with trying stuff.
Poppin says we have 9 real guys. That's okay.
I hope they end with 9 real guys after, because they didn't have 9 real guys last year.
Yeah, they did not have 9 real guys. Okay. Yeah, I'll be very curious to see kind of the opening night rotation versus the Warriors in particular. I think that's an interesting one. So, okay. Successful preseason. We will cover Friday's preseason game and give you the whole rundown. Like, we'll give you post-game show, whole stuff. It is Tamar Bates time, baby.
Yeah.
Looking forward to Moses Brown alley-oops.
Hell yeah.
Swipe and I'll be with you on Thursday. We'll get Swipe's thoughts on preseason, some of that stuff as well. We'll just kind of get into how the offense should take shape on that show, and then boom and gloom on Friday as well with Ryan and Swipa at 4 Eastern, 2 Mountain. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy that Nuggets preseason win. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.